Humankind as we know it used to live in harmony with the environment. People lived in small groups and were considered hunter-gatherers. These hunter-gatherers would stay on one piece of land until it ran out of resources and then move to another piece of land. They would eventually return to that first land site but would give it enough time to rejuvenate. This cycle lasted for many thousands of years, but today there are only a few tribes like that still exist. Human needs have changed, and therefore the way we live has changed. As human population grew, so did our need for new technologies and innovations. These new technologies and innovations have changed the environment that we live in. If you would like to see a simple example of how we have changed our environment, walk outside and look at your house or any other building that you see. These structures did not exist at one point in our history. Now imagine what that piece of land looked like before a house or building was built on it. Most likely it did not look like it does now. Now let's imagine the city that you live in. There are roads, buildings, gas stations, bridges, and maybe even a dam or other form of power plant. If you have a hydraulic power plant in your city, it is most likely that a large section of your city was either underwater or very marshy. Now let's look at cars. Cars are a very important technology for human transportation. Life would be very different if we did not have them. If we had to walk or ride horses from place to place, we would most likely not travel too far. We would be restricted to work and go to school close to wherever we live. Needless to say, our lives would be very different. Now let's look at the environmental impact that our cars have. Most people know that cars pollute the air around us. We try to find new styles of cars that do not produce as much pollutants, but let's look further into the car's impact. If we did not have cars, we would not need to pave roads. Whenever a road is paved, a piece of land is altered. All of the tar and rocks that make up that road have to come from somewhere too. Anytime we take material from the earth and move it somewhere else, we are inducing environmental change. Let's look further. Cars are made of metals, rubber, and cloth that come from somewhere. These materials are assembled in factories that were built on land that used to look very different than it does now. These factories send pollutants and waste into our environment. The machines that are used to construct the cars need fuel to run. This fuel comes in the form of electricity that needs to be created from a form of power plant. These power plants run on coal, water, and other natural resources. Coal is mined and removed from the earth, changing that piece of land forever. Hydroelectric energy comes from dams that restrict water flow, changing the entire landscape and ecosystem of large areas of land. If you look even further, each machine used to build these cars is built somewhere, and therefore you can trace the impact on the environment that each piece of machinery has had. The metal alone to make a car has to be mined. Imagine the amount of cars in your city alone. Now imagine how much metal was mined in order to make all of those cars. Now imagine all the cars in the world and how much metal they need. If you look even further, you will discover that metal has been utilized by humans for a very long time. Metal needs fire in order to be forged. Fire needs wood to burn, and wood comes from forests. As you can see, any innovation or technology that we use has had some form of impact on our environment. If you look close enough, you can connect it to other technologies throughout history. I want you to find one piece of technology in your house. Look at the impact it has had on the environment. If you do not see an impact at first, look closer. Find how it's made, where it comes from. Look at similar technologies. Trace those technologies' roots. You will find that there is more of an impact than you might have previously thought. And remember, always think outside the box.